morning, folks. Today I'm going to be working on one of our Stripe samples for setting up recurring payments and collecting like subscription payments. We have an existing Stripe sample, but today I'm going to work on continuing to improve one of our Stripe samples here. And yeah, I thought it might be fun to stream some of this. So let me make this just a little bit bigger. So I have a stream from a couple days ago where we were working through a new flow for starting a brand new subscription. This is in beta. Again, please let me know if you would like to test this out. Sort of the order of operations is that you sort of create a customer, then you create a subscription in this default incomplete state, and then you can use the related payment intent or setup intent to confirm the payment on the client side, which sort of removes some of the edge cases and error handling that you might have to do in the current world when you're setting up Stripe subscriptions. And this also unlocks the ability for us to add some support for some new payment methods. So today what I'm going to do is take this PR and respond to some of the comments on the PR, and also just continue cleaning up the sample so that it works well for us. So here what I'm going to do is I pulled down the repository. Right now this is closed source, but we're gonna make this a public repo soon. And again, this is just like, we have an existing Stripe sample that shows you a few different subscription use cases, but they're using sort of the old pattern. And so we want to create brand new samples that show you the new way for setting up subscriptions. And so as part of that, we're also doing a little bit of cleanup here. So we're going to go through and work on the sample a little bit. If you wanted to hang out, ask any questions you may have, or just like chat about Stripe in general, you're welcome to do so. Yeah, we'll kind of be, it's going to be just kind of like low key, and I'll talk through what I'm doing and try to answer any questions that come through. So feel free to drop them in the chat. I think we're live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. So I think the comment stream should work for all those. We're using StreamYard. All right, so the thing that I'm most concerned about is cleaning up the client. So why don't we, let's fire this up. Nice. Okay, so here, if I go into the server and say, bundle install, and okay, and then if I open up, let's see, Ruby server, is this going to just work out of the box? I had to like re-download, or I re-cloned the repository, so I kind of blew away some of my settings. And it looks like, yeah, okay, so in my .env file, this is where my API keys are. You see my public key, secret key, webhook secret. These are my real keys in test mode. I think this is failing because okay, so it should go up to client and over to vanilla.js. And then we also need prices, basic price and pro price. I think that seems right. In the server, basic price ID, env new price ID, env static dir, straight publishable key. Oh, and then we're taking in the price ID. So the argument will be passed from the client as like basic or premium or something like that. And then we're going to be uppercasing that and passing that into or like extracting it from the environment variables. So yeah, I'll need to track that down. But okay, so where are we at here? Let's try to start the server again. Ruby server. Okay, is that font big enough too? Are you able to see that? Okay, should be good. Cool. Okay, let's try this again. All right, so on this page here, we have this email address, and then we have a sign up button. when you enter your email address, what page is this coming from? Looks like, okay, so when we hit the root route, we're retrieving the index page. So the index page is here. And what is happening on the index page? A whole bunch going on here. We're loading script.js. So something is happening with script.js. And what's confusing about this right now is that we have 678 lines of JavaScript in script.js that is a little bit difficult to know which pieces go with which page. So what I'm going to do is create an index.html. I'm actually just going to copy this maybe. I'm sorry, not index.html, index.js. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change this to index.js. And then I want to just like start tearing this apart because I don't think we need a lot of this stuff. So this page is purely just to create a new customer, right? So like really all we need in this case is like this sign in button. I don't think it actually does anything. We need the email address and we need to be able to sign up. I don't think we need this footer. I think we just need like the input and a sign up button, and that's it. So I'm going to like start by sort of stripping down all of these classes and okay, so let's, oh, you know what? I think, okay, you know what? I'm making a mistake. I have a branch already with all this stuff. Let me just remove this. Git checkout, I think. All right, so this should be a little bit different. What does this look like? Okay, that's great. Simple, 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 simple. All right, so what is my what does my index.html page look like now? Well, it has, it just has an input field and a button to sign up. And in fact, like we can just even make this even simpler. Okay. And are we using sign up form? We are. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this in script source index.js. And I want to make a new index.js file where we just put like all this JavaScript. Okay. All right, so now it's 25 lines of JavaScript and it's purely for the page, which allows you to sort of create a customer, sign up and create a customer. And that looks totally fine in my opinion. I know like it's sort of off to the side and such, but it should be fine. Label is email. It's really, really simple. Okay, so we have the email address here. You should type it in jr@example.com. And when you click sign up, it should create a new customer for you. And so what is this doing? This is create a customer, grabs the billing email address, makes a post request to the backend to /create customer. Create customer is here. Create customer is, let's see, taking in the email address. Okay, so we are taking in the email address and creating the customer and then rendering the JSON for the customer back to the client. And then what are we doing here? Then we're saying redirect on the client side. We're redirecting to prices, HTML with that customer's ID in the query string parameters. Now, in practice, this customer ID should be stored on some like currently authenticated user and should be managed like with the session. It should not be in the query string params. So I think this is mostly for demonstration purposes, but I also believe we could probably do this a little bit better. A couple other things to note here. We are leaking this into the global scope. right? Because we don't have any var or anything here, right? Customer. Yeah, so we're okay. I'm not even going to set this variable. I'm just going to say result dot customer. We could probably just use like destructuring or something to pull out that customer ID, but whatever. And then in the review here, Pantera did mention that a preferred way for redirecting is to use the URL search params. So instead of setting window location href with all this stuff, we can create a new params object here and then append the customer ID like so. And then use the params to string so that it does like the escaping for us. Thank you, Pantera, for writing that for us. Result dot. Okay, so this should be a little bit cleaner, just a little bit cleaner, and allows us to redirect. We're not storing anything crazy or extra, and very simple, very tight, and allows us to sort of sign up. And I almost want to change the name from index to like register or something so that it's super clear that this page is like really just for like signing up and then redirecting. I think I might also create some comments here. So this is like, maybe we don't need some, but yeah, that's fine. Index.js and index.html, these go together. Now we have index.js here. We could also maybe have like index.css, but maybe not. I think that's fine. And then in CSS, we have, we do have index.css. Oh, but there's a bunch of Tailwind. Okay. Yeah, we don't need Tailwind. Okay. And in global, okay, normalize, okay, yeah, sure. Oh, what is this? Solitius? Okay. I don't know. I don't think we need any of that business. Okay. All right, whatever. We'll just leave it like this. This should be super simple for signing up. And then I noticed that so let's like make sure that it's super simple. So our elements here, the billing email address is using the email ID attribute here, which is good. And then I don't think email submit. Yeah, so I don't think this email submit button is ever, or the email submit ID attribute is not ever used. So I'm going to remove that also to just like continue simplifying as much as possible. So now we have just like a super simple form, HTML form here. In fact, I'm considering removing the body or the main just to even simplify further, right? Okay, so that is looking awesome, I think. Let's keep driving on. All right, so we're looking at the prices page now. The idea here is that you select a plan. You're either going to get basic or you're going to get premium. When we click select, what is that doing? Select price is not defined. Okay, so let's go fix that. So if we go back up to the client here, we go to the prices.html. A couple things we want from index. We want our basic CSS, and then at the bottom here we have some new JavaScript for creating the subscription. I'm going to call this prices.js. Prices.js, and make this deferred, and prices.js defer, right? I'm feeling a little bit unsure about that. JavaScript defer. Defer or deferred? I thought it was defer. What's going on? I have had coffee this morning. Okay, yeah, it's defer. All right, so prices.js is going to contain the content or the HTML code for our prices page, which should be just this basic stuff. Okay, so let's put it here. And some folks will drop in usually into some Stripe samples and ask, is it cool if I just go through and make everything ES6. So instead of using var, we use const or whatever. And I'm super torn because on the one hand, it is a little bit more modern, right? But on the other hand, there's still a couple of browsers that don't like it. So we also get reports that are like, this doesn't work in IE whatever. So I'm hesitant to change everything to that, but I feel like if we're going to do it anywhere, we should probably just do it everywhere. Let's just check really quick. Can I use const? Where is this not supported? Okay. Yeah, IE10. Okay. That partial support. How is this partial? Okay. Not supported for 4 in or 4 of loops. All right. Let's do it. Let's make all of these the correct const. 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 All right. What about arrow functions? Can I use arrow functions everywhere yet? Arrow functions. So less coverage with arrow functions for sure, especially IE11. So let's stick with just anonymous functions. That's fine. It's not that bad. If you're modern and super cool, you can change it to your arrow functions, I think. Okay. So now we have our prices page script tag at the very top. On submit select price. Okay, so let's change how this works. So instead of having an on click handler, let's, oh gosh, okay, value, no classes. So we have a button, its ID is submit basic. And the other, okay, so this should be select premium. And this one should be select basic. And then value is basic and the class is blah, blah, blah. And we have a type button. All right, so let's, I don't know why these are labels. These should be, I don't know, some other thing. Okay, so submit basic and submit premium. We have a couple options here. One idea is that we just register a click handler, and when clicked, we call some create subscription function and pass forward some value from that button, right? Like we can just say, when you click on submit basic, then call the create subscription function, passing in basic. When you call submit premium, call the create subscription function, pass in submit premium. So one thing that's awesome about the new products and prices model is that you can use lookup keys for your prices. And I kind of wonder if we should be using lookup key instead of price IDs in environment variables, because I think that's probably a better best practice to follow. And so I'm almost wondering if we want to make this entire page actually rendered based on the prices that you have, or I'm sorry, based on the lookup keys. Would that make it more challenging to follow? Yeah, okay. Let's keep it simple. So we're going to have submit basic, submit premium, and over here, what we want to do, okay, so we have our basic button, and we have it is registering a click handler, which is calling this create subscription, or it's like making a post request to create a subscription. One thing that I think I want to do here is extract the logic for creating a subscription and then pass in this price ID. So this is actually not super cool. Let's create it down here. So function create subscription with a certain price and customer ID. And then this is price. I don't know. It's yeah, I'm going to call it price lookup. Price. It's not really the ID of the price. It is the thing that is indexing into the environment variables. It's like price key or something like price lookup. Yeah, I'm just going to call it price lookup and then cut all this business, paste it in here, return. And then what we can do is we can say, create subscription dot then result, and then do something with the result up here. Okay. And then in this new flow, when we're creating the subscription, we're creating it in this default incomplete state, which means that when we're creating the subscription right here, it's not actually charging any money the first time around. We have to then like confirm the subscription later. And this is all to support secure customer authentication and to unlock some new sorts of payment methods. So, so we've got a basic button, and that is doing get element by ID, submit basic. And when the basic button is clicked, we want to pass in the customer ID. And actually, let's do this. Just put this inside of here. And then we don't have to pass the customer ID around. And we just want to pass in like basic here. And same thing with premium, right? Premium button. Oops. Yeah. Okay. And then we want to pass in premium. All right. So this is like, yeah, super basic way to do this, but we have one click handler for the basic button, one click handler for the premium button. When each of those are clicked, we're going to call create subscription and pass down the price lookup. Price, man. Okay, so I'm just going to call it price ID. I think price reference, price level, plan level, something like that might be kind of interesting. Whatever, let's just call it price ID. Price ID. All right. And then what are we doing here? We are catching errors and putting them in the console. And then we're redirecting again. We're redirecting to another page. So let's follow the same sort of pattern here. And the page we're going to is called pay. And we need the subscription ID in the query string. So data.subscription ID is what I would expect, since when we create the customer, server.rb, when we create the customer, we're sending back customer. When we create the subscription, okay, so this is an inconsistency here. In the create customer case, we're sending back a JSON object with customer, with like a customer nested inside of customer. And then in create subscription, we were just sending back the whole subscription. I think we should simplify and have them both just return the JSON for the object. I don't see a reason. Well, okay. If we ever wanted to send other stuff back, then it might be, okay, I'm changing my mind. If we ever want to send other stuff back in addition to the customer or the subscription, then we would want to already have it in this shape, so we don't have to, like, we can easily just add a new thing that we're responding with that's like in addition to the customer or in addition to the subscription. We might want to send some other stuff. So let's nest them both, and let's make that like the standard pattern. Yeah, okay, so let's see. So when we receive a post request to /create subscription, as we are sending here, we are going to receive a price ID from the client. And this price ID is actually going to be something like basic or premium. It's not a real price ID. And then we're expecting that in the environment variables, we have some key basic that points at some price ID. So let's do this. Price ID is equal to env data price ID dot uppercase. So that's the actual price ID that we're going to use. Now, if you wanted to start a subscription with like a setup fee or something, then you could do that here also with an add line items call. Sub price ID. So when you're creating a subscription, wow, that's tiny. You can pass in, right? We're passing in items here that has like the price, the ID of the price. That's what we're doing here with this. Items is a list of objects, and the objects have a property price, which has this price ID. you can also have this add invoice items, which allows you to add like one-time setup fees or one-time sort of fees that are applied to the first invoice. So if you have a setup fee, you would just say like add line items, or add invoice items, sorry, add invoice items, which I believe is a list. Yeah. And it would look similarly price. And this would be like your one-time setup fee price ID or something. But we're not doing that today. We are just going to use this default incomplete. Again, this is a feature that's in beta. So if you wanted to test this out, let me know. We are definitely looking for folks to try it out. So yeah, so please let me know if you would like to participate in that beta. I'm going to clean this up to follow our style guides. I know that in Ruby, you don't need to use these curly braces if the entire thing that you're sending as the argument is a hash, but to be consistent, we are going to use those curly braces as that matches sort of the Stripe style for our documentation, and also allows us to kind of keep a close alignment between what we're sampling in the examples and what we're actually showing on the snippets. The reason why we use these curly braces is that all of these API methods in Stripe Ruby accept two hash arguments. The first one being all of the sort of resource payload, like the request body, that is going to configure whatever object we're creating. And then there's a second argument called request options, where if you're using Stripe Connect, or if you're like specifying an API version or doing other fancy stuff, you send that as a second hash argument. And it's much easier to understand if you start out with the first argument already using the curly braces and delimiting between the first argument and second argument. So that's just kind of a stylistic thing. But all right, so we're sending in the price ID, we're sending in the customer ID. And I'm going to pull this one out also, because in practice, you probably are going to pull this out of, like, this is going to come likely, like this is a likely stored in your authenticated user. So here you're probably going to do something like current user.stripe customer ID or something like that. It's not going to be passed in from the client. The way that we're doing this is just for demonstration and because we don't have a database. So we're passing this. Okay. So here we are, we're passing the price ID, subscription ID, then we're resolving, and then we're handling all of this stuff. Cool. So in fact, like, I think we can probably just call create customer, and then we don't actually need to do anything after that with the result. I'm going to leave the create customer function returning the result of fetch, so that if we wanted to, we could chain on some other calls here, but we don't necessarily need to. We are preventing default on the button click, just in case this is embedded in some sort of form. And then we're manually handing the redirect on the client. This will make it also like sort of nice to work with when dealing with React or something else. So like we're just handling like everything sort of on the client. In practice, I might make it redirect from the server if I was using Rails or Django or something. I don't know. But for now, this is cool. We've got a super simple create subscription thing. We have this div subscription create errors, and I'm going to leave this in here even though we're not necessarily using it, but I'm going to add a to do populate subscription failures. This should be totally fine for now. All right, so let's go back to our page here, refresh the page. So select a plan. We got basic, $5 a month, premium, $15 a month. But I already know that I'm passing down basic and premium, and those are not in my environment variables. So if I go back up to server ruby.env, they're called basic price ID and pro price ID. So I'm just going to copy those and then rename them to basic and premium. And then in like the root of the project, should have a .env.example that has basic and premium, and we do. Okay, so I don't know why we need that separate thing there. We shouldn't need that. Okay. All right. So that's cool. I'm getting more and more pleased with this page, and I think that it's looking pretty good. Let's see how it runs. Let's clear the errors, and then click basic and see what happens. Okay, so create subscription, got a 400, and let's look at the logs. So yep, we just got a 400 on create subscription. So what is going on? Oh, we probably need to refresh or restart the server after changing our environment variables. And then refresh, click select. Okay, so it created it, but we don't have a question mark between the HTML pay.html and the actual query string. So let's go fix that. So in our redirect, where are we redirecting here? We are redirecting here, and this should be question mark. Sure. So we go back, refresh the page, click select, and all right, so we created a subscription. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Stripe subscriptions retrieve, and then we can paste in the ID. This is using the Stripe CLI. Incredibly handy, super useful for building and testing your integrations. All right, so we've got a new subscription. It's set up as expected. We have this customer that ends in 8H, which is the customer ID up here. And then you'll notice the status down here is incomplete. So it'll be incomplete for, I think it's up to 23 hours. I believe it's 23 hours. And it's either 23 or 24. And then after, if it stays incomplete for that long, then it will go to incomplete expired, which is a terminal state for the subscription. So reflecting on how this works, right? Like if you get to this point and you're like, oh, actually, I don't want the basic, I want the premium, and you want to change your plan, it's a little bit late to do that, right? Like you've kind of already picked the plan level. And we've already created the subscription. So in order to update the subscription, we would need to start like keeping track of the state. And then like, if we go back to pick a different plan, canceling the subscription and such, which I think is okay. But I also think that, I think it might be all right to just leave it and allow it to expire as incomplete, incomplete expired. So I think we might need to come back to that, but let's just leave that as is for now. All right, so the full name, and then we have the full name in the card. This is on the pay page. So let's go to the pay page and hack around on that for a bit. So we got pay, which has some JavaScript at the bottom, which is looking good. So let's add pay.js. And I'm gonna just cut the JavaScript here and move it into here. And then I am going to load this up, pay.js, defer. Okay, so on the payment page, let's take a look at our content here. So we've got a label for grid first name. Not sure if we need grid at all. Label for name. And then we have the ID. In fact, yeah, that's the right ID and for attribute matching. And then I don't think we need this div. In fact, we don't need it at all. Right. And then okay, so yeah, so if we take a quick gander here, I just want to grab some standard CSS. All right. So what's going on here? We have a label for the name. The name's placeholder is, it says first and last name. It is required. And then we have the label for the card. So this is going to be card element errors. And then we have a submit payment button with the ID submit. So the card element is where the like Stripe.js element is going to be mounted, and that will have inputs for the number, CVC, postal code, et cetera, et cetera. If you want, you can separate those out. So you have a card number element, which is like a separate control from the CVC and whatever. You can style that. If you're curious about how to do that, I would check out the elements. There's like a page about elements that has some really good stuff. All right, so then in the on the client, right? So what's happening here is we need to retrieve the subscription, and we need to use the subscription's pending or its latest invoices, payment intents, client secret in order to confirm that client secret on the client. So we want to like enter a card number here. 4242 number is good. And then we're going to use that payment method in order to confirm the subscription, which starts the subscription. Now there's one little hiccup where when that payment is created, or when the payment method is created that represents those payment details, those card details, they are not necessarily set as the default payment on that subscription. So we're going to need like a follow-up step where after we have created and confirmed the subscription, we also need to attach not attach, but set that payment method as the default on the subscription. So let's go through all of those steps and make sure everything works as expected. So pay.js. Okay, so at the top, we're pulling out the subscription ID. We also have the customer ID there, but I'm not sure if we need that or not. Customer. Yeah, I don't think we're actually using the customer ID anywhere, which makes me wonder if we need to pass it at the last step, but whatever. Here, we are initializing an instance of Stripe, and we're passing in our publishable key. This we definitely want to update so that it fetches from the environment variables. So at the very beginning here, let's say like function like, and what else? Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think through if we can just make that fetch request. Yeah, so fetch. So we have an API endpoint for retrieving the config, which is just the publishable key. So let's say fetch to /config. Let's see. Fetch. Is it a get? Fetch. Oops. Fetch. It is a get. Okay, so let's say from pay.js. Yep. Okay, so fetch config. Then I think we have to do that JSON thing, the magic JSON trick. So then here we should get the result, which should have a publishable key on it. And I think we can say like at the top, we'll say let Stripe and Stripe equals result dot publishable key. All right, so that should at the top we're creating there's like a variable called Stripe, which is going to hold the instance of Stripe. We are going to hit our backend to /config, and when that promise resolves, we will be calling result.json to get the JSON version of that response deserialized into a JSON object. And then on that JSON result, we have a publishable key. Let's actually just like clean this up. And I think because that returns a promise. So it would be weird to put it in there. Okay. So then we've got our Stripe, our instance of Stripe initialized. So that should be fine. Cool. So after that happens, let's see. So where are we actually using this? We're using this to fetch. Okay. Okay. So we've got our params. So we have like extract query string params. Fetch public key and initialize Stripe. And then we also want to initialize an instance of Stripe elements. And I think we can do this just inside of here. So Stripe.js elements allows us, this is where we're like creating an instance of the Stripe.js elements object, and then we're going to create a card element and mount that onto that card element div that we have in our HTML. So I'm going to just drop that inside of our like the success block here after we have fetched config, because we don't want to initialize Stripe elements until after we have the instance of Stripe created. So we need to do this after this happens, and it just seems easier to keep it just kind of like right in here. Let's see if that's true. Because I think, oh, actually, yeah, because we're going to need that card element later. So let's create Stripe and card element as we're using let because we want to modify what that variable is referring to. If we use const, we can't change the reference. So we're modifying what that is referring to, and then we're going to use it later. So we're also saying let client secret. I think I'm just going to leave that here. So we're saying now fetch subscription to retrieve the client secret. This is the client secret that we need to in order to confirm the payment. So we're again using let because we're going to change reference to what this client secret thing looks at. And then I don't know if I need to pass, I need to use fetch this way, or if I can just use like just straight up fetch with the URL. Let's see. So if we go to the console, sources tab, we're on the pay page, go to pay.js, click here, refresh. So we are hitting that. We're getting the result back. And okay, so I think we can simplify this call by removing all this stuff. And I think we can just do that. Okay, so here we are using that query string parameter from up above. So maybe we should just move this down below. Yeah, let's do that just to kind of keep stuff organized. So it's like step 1, and then we have step 2, and we have step 3. Fetch the subscription to retrieve the client secret. And oh, here we are using arrow functions. Okay, I wonder if this is what's messing up those folks who are using IE 11 or whatever function. I know. I want to use the new cool fancy stuff too, but it just doesn't work in some browsers yet. So I hate to do it, but we gotta make it work. Gotta make it work, folks. Okay. All right. So what's happening here? So we're calling fetch to the subscription endpoint just to retrieve the subscription by ID. We're passing subscription ID in, and then we're expecting that we're going to get back some JSON. And let's see. Let's make these consistent also. Okay, and then these should be just resp dot subscription, right? Because we want to make sure that everything is nested. And this, oh man, I don't like this. But the way that you get at the client secret is you have to go through the responses, subscriptions, latest invoices, payment intents, client secret, and that's how you find it. All right. So then after this is all happening on page load, right? So step 1, step 2, and step 3 are all happening on page load. This is like 2 API requests to go. One is to get the API key. The other is to retrieve the subscription that we just created with the sole purpose of extracting its latest invoices, payment intents, client secret. Let's go back to the server. And we go to /subscription. Not that one. All right, so when we create the subscription, generally you want to expand this latest invoices payment intent because you want to use that payment intent to confirm on the client. In this case, we are not actually using this information on that page where this create subscription is happening. So I'm going to delete that. And instead, we have it down here. Latest invoices payment intent. Okay, so we're going to say subscription is equal to this thing. And then instead of returning just the JSON for it, subscription, and that's going to be, hey, why are we using strings there too? We don't need those. Subscription. So let's clean that up a little bit too. Right, because in Ruby we can use symbols. We don't need to use strings. All right, this is not Python. All right, so in this case, we want to retrieve the subscription that was just created in the previous step, and we do want to expand the latest invoices payment intent because we need to retrieve this related payment intent because we want the client secret that is attached to that payment intent in order to confirm on the client. All right, so this is, we removed it from the previous step in order to, because we weren't using it on that page, we're only using it on this page. So let's go back over here, refresh the page. And let's kind of make sure that stuff is all happening as expected here. So refresh the page, we get into step 3. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna add breaks at step 1, step 2, and step 3. So we refresh the page. We break on step 2 first because this is synchronous, and we got the subscription ID, I believe, out of there. Yep, we got the subscription ID. We push play. Step 1, we're creating the card element. We have our publishable key. That all looks good. Okay, so step 1 is working well and as expected. And then step 3, what are we looking at here? We got our response back, and the response has the subscription at the top level. So something that didn't, okay, so that didn't work as expected. Oh, no, it is. It's just, it's showing me the response. Wait, what? Let's see. Resp subscription. Okay, so why get subscription to subscription to JSON? This should totally work. Refresh the page. Do I need to restart the server or something? Oh, Sinatra reload. Does this work? Okay, someday I'll figure out how to do that. All right, so we get back the response, and the response does have now a subscription, and it has all this stuff. Okay, so does that have a client secret? It looks like it does. We've got our client secret set. Great. So now we can move on to the next step, which is dealing with this submit button up here. Okay, so we've got our first name, last name. We've got a card element, and then this huge button that's like covering everything up. So let's do some CSS. So inspect. Inspect this thing. No telemarketer. I do not want to talk to you. There have been so many political calls lately. I swear I'm getting like 10 political calls per day. We're in a battleground state as man, it's crazy. Like our polling information must be getting sold like everywhere, but oh, that's good water. Check it out. I went to like it wasn't a conference. It was a workshop by Eve Porcello and about GraphQL. And I got this super cool sticker that says, "Ask me about GraphQL." And I just found all the stickers. I went to the conference like 2 years ago or something. And I found the sticker. I was so pumped. So I put it on my water bottle. So thank you. Thanks, Eve. And yeah. Okay, where are we at? Anyone using GraphQL? Yeah, super curious if you would be interested in some GraphQL demos for working with Stripe. So let me know in the comments. Also, let me know in the comments what you're building. That would be super helpful. Would love to know what you're working on, and also if all of this stuff is helpful. All right, so we're not even working on this bit yet. Okay, so we need to fix the CSS. Wish me luck. Here we go. Why is this styled so fancy? Weight or width, height, font weight, go away stuff. What is this thing? Okay, so my input box is going all the way across. Okay. Let's go back over here to pay. Let's make this thing class field, I think. And this one is a class field. Nope. I'm gonna wrap these in divs. And card element errors. Yeah. Okay, let's wrap the button in a div. And okay, so none of that worked as expected. All right, so I don't like CSS. I don't. I sure don't. Tell you one thing though, definitely don't think that CSS should get in the way of you building your integration or being successful. Like the page could totally look like this. It works fine. Looks like garbage, but you can always make it pretty later. What did I do? Client. We have pay. All right. So what's going on here? This. That looks fine. Test. Okay. Also, I noticed that we have this full name input, but I don't think we're using it anywhere yet in Page.js. Full, let's see, name. Yeah, we're not even using name anywhere. So, okay, so handle form submission. All right, get element by ID of the submit payment button. So that gives us our button. And then on click, we're going to prevent default. And then we're going to confirm the card payment with this client secret. And then the payment method being the card element. And then we're going to like in the result, we're going to do stuff like throw errors or whatever. So let's go. Let's figure out what we need to do with this full name situation by looking at the Stripe.js confirm card payment method and take a look. Confirm part. Okay, so billing details. Inside billing details, we can pass the name. Billing details name, and this should just be the value extracted from the name input. Let's see. The name input, name input.value. Okay, so now we're using the name input. That's good. All right, so test. Use the 4242 card. Click subscribe. So clicking subscribe should come into this click handler, and it does. And then we get the name input, and its value is test. That's good. That matches what we typed in. And now we're going to pass the client secret, which looks correct. The card element, which we mounted earlier, the billing details, name, the name input, and then we should just, yeah, we should see this result here. So we are either going to alert subscribed, great, or we would alert some sort of error. Let's try again with, actually, yeah, no, so like after, now that it's confirmed, see, what does it do? It should fail because we're not, like the payment intent is already confirmed. So I think this might fail. Let's see. A processing error occurred. Yeah, because the payment was already confirmed. Okay, well, at least it tells you an error happened. All right, so we need to go through the entire flow again. And instead of saying subscribed, we have another page called the account page. So why don't we redirect to the account page if that is successful? So looking back at our prices thing here, 3YY. Pay, okay. Account. I don't know what we need. I don't know what we need for the account page, but let's just assume that we're going to use the same query string params that we already have, which will be the customer and the subscription ID. And I think we probably just need the customer, but I don't actually know what's going on the account page yet. So let's just check it out. So if we go through the entire process again, we start from the beginning, we enter in Jenny Rosen at example.com. ampool.com, sign up. And that one is also broken. So from index.js, should be a question mark, refresh, fresh. Jenny Rosen at .com, sign up. Okay, we get to pick a plan. Do we want basic or premium? Let's do premium this time just to make sure it works. Cool. And we created a subscription. We redirected. Jenny Rosen is my name, and my card is no. Let's do SCA card, SCA test card here, which should open the SCA modal. It does. Cool. So that looks good. Complete authentication. Fantastic. All right, that's excellent. We're at an hour. I'm feeling pretty good about those 3 pages. Let's try to get through this account settings page. So we have, here we're showing a current price, the credit card, and we have a button to change the pricing plan and to cancel the subscription. So what I think we want to do is simplify this so that we have a single page, which is purely for showing you how to cancel a subscription. And then we can have a single page, which is purely for showing you how to change your pricing plan. And this account page can just show you like what the current price is, what your current card on file is, and that's it. Let's do that. So let's go to the account page. And let's call this account.js, if we even need account.js. We'll remove all that CSS. The title of this is like your account page or something. Actually, yeah, let's go do a quick review. Title here should be like register or sign up. Sign up. A pricing. Okay, just super simple, super simple. We don't need meta description, right? Description. Don't need a description. And I honestly don't think we need this. All right. Just trying to keep it as simple as possible, folks. Okay. Wow, that's beautiful HTML, right? It's just super clean, super simple. All right. So again, removing all this business. Okay. Sign out button doesn't actually just link. That goes back to the root. We can add that back later if we want. Subscription canceled view. Maybe we just show the status of the subscription instead. Restart demo and log out both go to the same thing. Subscription settings div with a bunch of stuff. Current price. Okay, so things we want, things we want to keep. Current price, current like plan level, current price, status of the subscription. Maybe like the next billing interval, like when is it going to renew? And then like link to change plan, link to update payment method, link to cancel. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to delete all this, everything. It's all going, the entire thing. Footer again underneath the body. That's so interesting. All right, let's see here. Okay, bomb. All right, so on the account page, what do we want to do? So in account.js, we want to render something that says like account, and then we have a like super simple div that shows like current plan, and this will be like basic or premium, and we can have another div here. Another div here for the current price. Same sort of deal, right? And the price is going to be something like, I don't know, 5 USD or 14 USD. And then status of the subscription. Subscription status. And this will be like active, canceled, incomplete, stuff like that. Okay, cool. Like next invoice. And that'll be some date. And what else do we have? Okay, so now let's add some links. So like change.html. Update. I don't know if we were using kebab case here or what for file names, payment method. And then finally, cancel. And I don't know if we're going to get to update payment method. We might just have like change and cancel. But it would be nice if the demo included all three of those. So let's start with just working on the account page first and populating the current plan, price, and subscription status. So refresh the page. Obviously, it looks way worse than it did before, but it should be way more easy to understand when you're dropping into this for the first time. Okay, so account.js is going to retrieve the current subscription. All right, so we want to say like fetch subscription. And again, we're going to need the subscription ID. This is actually going to reuse the same endpoint as the last page for retrieving the subscription. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, okay. What did we use over here? Pay, subscription. Yeah, so all right, so we pull out the subscription ID again from the query string params, right? We have the subscription ID here. So we're going to retrieve the subscription by ID. And when we get the subscription back, oh, we have to change these again. Function. And so the console.log. Okay, so here what we want to do is like set like values for a bunch of divs, spans, given that subscription. So let's go back and just like grab reference to all of those things. So so I have a shortcut here where I do like GID and then tab, and I'm using Vim Snipmate to populate the content there. But I'm using var and document get element by ID instead of like query selector with the cool new stuff. So I think I'm going to change that to the newer style, and I'll use const since we're pretty confident that'll be that'll work everywhere. Get a quick swig here. What's up, Colin? How's it going? Okay, so edit Vim plugins, Vim snippets. And then I have some HTML snippets here at the bottom. GID? Yeah, okay, so this should be now const. And instead of get element by ID, I want to use this super cool new query selector thing. and just pass in the like CSS selector. So I think it's like query selector, right? Is that it? Is that it? Simple, huh? Boom. Nope. Did not save. Nope. Is there another one? Oh, you know what? I probably have the same thing in both HTML and JavaScript snippets. I do. So same thing. So query selector and hashtag. Okay. Boom. Okay. BTN. No. All right. All right. Back to where we were. Okay. Account.html. For the current plan, we want to grab reference to the current plan. So PID current plan. Span. Sure. Current plan. And when we retrieve the response with the subscription, which looks like this, refresh the page, and let's, okay, we need to like at least console log it or something. Console.dir should make it so that it prints out like a browsable object, which is kind of cool. Instead of console.log, console.dir, if you have a JSON object you're taking a look at. So that gives us back a subscription, and that thing has items. In this case, we're always only using one invoice item. And so we should be able to grab the list of items and their data, and the first thing in their data, and that thing's price, and that thing's price is product, and that price is product's name. So let's see. So what is the best way to go about doing it? I'm just going to print the current price unit amount. Yeah, let's just do that. So we'll, instead of having current plan and current price, we will print the current. Yeah. Okay. So what we want to do here is we want to say like current plan, no, current price span. And that's going to be set to the value we get back. So current price span dot value or dot inner text is equal to, so let's pull off some stuff here. So const subscription is response dot subscription. And then const invoice or line subscription, let's just say item is subscription items data in the first one, and this would be like item dot price unit amount, and we'll see how that works. Refresh the page. Hey, look at that. Current price is set to 1400. That is correct technically. We could do some formatting. Let's see. To do format look not like cents. Maybe someone wants to contribute that later. But okay, so we've got the current price, and that's set to 1400. And instead of this, I can set like dot 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 while it's retrieving it, so that, well, yeah, it's pretty quick, but whatever. All right, the same thing with status. Let's do that. So GID subscription, or maybe just status span. Subscription status. Status span dot inner text is equal to subscription dot status. Page, and now we have a status which is active. Again, I'm going to pre-fill this tag thing with just ellipses so that it shows that something is probably fetching. Next invoice is some date. So what is the next invoice date? So we have the current period end, and this gives us a Unix timestamp. Super handy super handy Alfred workflow here that I really like is called DF, and you just say DF space and then drop in a Unix timestamp, and it tells you like the human readable version of that in a few different formats, and you can just like copy to jump around. So this is November 14, which is in 1 month from now, which looks correct. So we can say next invoice date. I'm going to change the name there to next invoice at const next invoice at span. Wait. Next invoice at span is next invoice at, and its value is going to be next invoice at span is equal to subscription dot current period end. Again, we need to format this so it doesn't look like some wild thing here. Current period end. Did I spell that wrong? Current period end. Nope. Oh, I just said it's inner text. Boom. Okay. So it's just printing out a Unix timestamp right now, but we can make that pretty. Should we do that now? Let's see. And should I put these inside here? And should I separate more concerns? Like I'm wondering in production, what I would do here is I would separate these out into like different functions and utility helpers and some other like little classes. But to keep it super simple, I think maybe just printing it like this should be fine. One thing that we could do is we can also grab the prices currency, which is in USD. So we could sort of format this a little bit better. Yeah. So let's make the price show like the price amount divided by 100. And then let's put also the currency. Item.price.currency. And let's see. Okay, 14 USD. That's a little bit better. And then we can also say like slash, meaning per, and then we can put the item.price.recurring.interval, which should give us month, right? That's weird. Hey, I found a bug in Chrome. That's cool. This is this is supposed to like fold down below, but check that out. That is like definitely not folding down below, right? Like this little arrow is supposed to like pop out the stuff below it, but it's not doing that. I wonder if I refresh the page, let's see. Well, I know it's okay. So here, since I'm like reaching into the item and pulling out a lot of stuff about the price, but not necessarily about the item, I think I'm going to change this to be price here. And I'm going to grab that price and then kind of just clean this up just a bit. So we have fewer violations of the law of Demeter or the law of Demeter. How do you say that? So cool. Now the current price shows like 14 USD per month. Subscription status is active. The next invoice is on this weird date. Let's see. Is it as easy as just like new date and passing that in? Nope. Is it as easy as date.parse and passing it in? Nope. Date dot. If we can't figure it out super quick, we'll just bail on it. Date. What if we just pass into the date constructor like that? Hey, that's actually wrong. October 14 is today. Current period end should be. Yeah, it should be a month from now. Why is this? Oh, that's weird. It's like exactly a month off. All right. Well, dates are weird, but let's call that good for now. We can come back and format things later. All right. So yeah, we don't need that comment anymore. So we are fetching the subscription. Set values for a bunch of spans. Yeah. Cool. That's clean enough. Clean enough for now. All right, refresh the page. Everything looks good. Let's work on our change plan view. And yeah, this is a super simple page just for like retrieving stuff. Okay, love and get. All right, so we're an hour 20 into this, or an hour 15 into this. So I think we'll go for just a bit longer and try to clean up the work on this change plan. Cancel should be pretty trivial. Oh, you know what we forgot to do completely is okay. So we gotta step back just a bit. Dang. All right. Okay, so what's happening on the pay page is after you create the subscription, and I mentioned this, but the thing that we need to do before we redirect is we need to like make a request to update the default payment method on the subscription. This is kind of like, yeah, I don't like that we have to do this step, but we have to. So how do we want to handle this? So we have just confirmed the card payment. We know that the subscription is now active. One way that we might do this is in the webhook handler. Like if you receive a webhook event for customer subscription updated, and if it is a subscription that you don't know about, then like maybe you have updated the subscription's payment method. All right, so what do we want to do here? What do we want to do? Let's see. I think we might want to make the call update customer. This is kind of a design decision that we probably need to make with the team that's like writing the guide for okay, so we do have a method called set default payment method. And what is this thing doing? This is calling update and passing in the customer ID and then this invoice settings object, which has the default payment method, which is taking in the default payment method. Okay, so this is actually the same as the other one. Okay, so set default payment method. Is that what we want to call this? Set default payment method. Payment method update. Payment method. It could just be like a put request, or it could be customer put request, or it could be like /customer /update payment method. And it also could be, this could be like a post or a put. It could also be called just default payment method, default _ payment method. Customer payment method. Post request. The put request. Okay, I don't like the name, but whatever. Let's just do it. Let's just use it. So here, over here, what we want to do is we want to make a post request to set default payment method. And we want to pass in the payment method ID. So we need to pass in the customer ID and the payment method ID, which is going to be on the result here, because this result will be an instance of a payment intent, I believe. So this should be like result.payment method.id. And then on success of that, that's when we actually want to redirect. Okay, so that's all right. So handle the form submission. We are confirming, like, create payment method and confirm payment intent. And then we are setting the default payment method. Set the default payment method on the customer. You can technically set the default payment method on the customer or on the subscription. But here we're just going to set it on the customer and then redirect like so. All right, so let's go all the way back through the whole flow. So we have jenny.rosen@example.com. We click sign up, and then we click basic, created a new subscription. Here's the new thing we have to like test out. And also this should return not customer, but customer nested, because that's our pattern. That is our convention. I'm going to change this before I ever forget to. Actually, let's do them all. Subscription. Method. Consistency is key. This doesn't need to be like that either. That's cool. Okay, what do we got? What do we got going on here? What do we got going on here? So we are create customer, create subscription. Those are looking good. We've got our retrieve subscription. We're expanding the right stuff. Now we've got our set default payment method. And the set default payment method is going to parse the post body. Okay, this is also like another conventional thing, is putting parens if you are calling a method on like the right hand side of an equal sign, because weird things happen sometimes in Ruby if you don't do that. Okay, so create subscription. We are getting off track a little bit. All right, so we are updating, setting the default. Okay, so let's see. You know what? We need to refresh the server, and then, yep. Okay, so test 4242 card, subscribe, and here we are. So we've successfully created or confirmed the payment intent. We got back. Okay, so the result.payment intent .payment method. So this is wrong. The result.payment intent .payment method. That should be it. But we already confirmed it, so we got to start over. All right, let's do that. Jenny Rosen @example.com. Basic. I've been doing like a little bit of research around using loopback so that we can play some music here, at least even if it was just like a little bit of like a chill sort of Creative Commons YouTube authorized situation, that would be pretty nice. Okay, so we have customer ID up here, but I think I may have deleted it because we weren't using it. So I'm going to go get that back. Okay, back. Jenny. Rosen at example.com, basic, test, type in everything. And then we should enter this and then this, right? Subscribe. Okay, we're confirming the payment intent. We confirmed it. And now we have a payment method. We have a customer ID and we hit play and we get down here and we are extracting the params, converting them to a string, redirecting the customer page. We've got, okay, cool. So that is all working. And now what I wanted to confirm is if this customer has a default payment method, which we can do with the Stripe CLI again. So Stripe customers retrieve, nope. And we need to pass the customer ID. And we're looking for the invoice settings default payment method to be set. So here we have the customer and here's the invoice settings. And it does have this default payment method, which is great because this means that when the subscription cycles in the future, it will use this payment method. It's odd, but by default, when you set up the subscription, it's not going to save that payment method. We need to be explicit about setting the payment method ID. Okay, so what is next? I think we're solid with the pay page. We were talking about moving on to the what was it? The first one is like the change plan page. Let's do cancel first because that's a little easier. Cancel.html. And are you sure you want to cancel? Yeah, I'm sure. Button, and that's going to be like cancel button, and I'll say cancel. Cancel.js, and all right, that's pretty good. Cancel.js. Cancel.js is going to have a function which is going to pull out the subscription ID. And what else is it going to do? Okay, another snippet I need to fix. Let's see here. Cancel. What are we gonna do for cancel? So when someone clicks that cancel button, cancel BTN, I think I called it. Cancel button. Am I being inconsistent with that? BTN. Sign up form. So we are being a little bit inconsistent in that for the sign up form, we're using the form, but for the other stuff, we're using the button. So let's clean that up just a little bit and only use the button ID sign up BTN. And then instead of submit handler, we'll do click handler. Okay. All right. All right, probably broke something, but whatever. We'll just keep going. So we have in the account page, we don't have any buttons. In the cancel page, we have cancel BTN. In index, we have sign up BTN. In pay, we have submit payment. It should be called subscribe BTN. or no, I mean, yeah, that's fine. A.js subscribe. Where's the button handler? Submit payment BTN. All right. So, and then prices, did we have buttons here? Yeah, we do. But these are, let's say, basic BTN and premium BTN. Submit, I'll just be like basic BTN. Premium BTN. All right. Okay, so now we should be good. And then when this is clicked, cancel button. When the cancel button is clicked, we're going to say send a post request back to the server to cancel subscription. And we want to pass in the subscription ID, which is from the query string parameters, again, subscription ID. Let's make sure that we have a route for that. Cancel subscription, that looks right. We are calling cancel on the subscription with the subscription ID. Okay, cool. That all looks right. And then when it's canceled, maybe we should redirect back to the account page. Seems reasonable, because then we can show that the subscription is canceled on the account page. So what does our redirect thing look like? It looks like these 3 lines, 2 lines. And yep, that's exactly it. Okay. All right, so we click cancel. Oh, dang. Okay, so we lost our query string params. Okay, so what do we need to fix? We need to fix, no, account.html. Oh, okay. Is there a nice way to do this? Change link. Actually, change BTN. Yep. This is like the result of doing all of our state management client side for the demo, because we don't have a database. All right, so when we click cancel, we want to just redirect to that URL following our nice standard redirect stuff, which is these things. And cancel. So if we come back over here, we click cancel. Now we have our query string params. That's great. Are you sure you want to cancel? Pretty sure. So we're going to click on the cancel button. It enters this callback. We're going to make a post request to cancel subscription. We are passing subscription ID. We should get back here and redirect. So let's see. Boom. We redirect back to the account page, and indeed we are canceled. Nice. That was quick, painless. There might be stuff I'm forgetting there, but that's fine. All right, so we're 110. Okay, let's see. Checking some text messages from my 7-year-old. That's crazy. Sent an email he sent an email. Or no, he sent me a text message from his computer. This is so wild. Having kids is crazy. Okay, so let's see. What else do we want to try to achieve in this time together? I was just going to check my calendar super quick to make sure that we've got all the right stuff in the right places. Ooh, okay. So I have an appointment in like 20 minutes. So we are, let's go work on change plan. All right, so on the client, we are definitely increasing the number of files here for sure. But my hope is that we can explain what each of those files does and that they're nice and contained. So the example is readable, easily understood, and you know exactly where to look for the code that does the thing that you're trying to do. All right, so from the account page, we've got this change plan button. Should we do that or update payment method? Oh, which one? Change plan is going to take a little bit because we have to preview the upcoming invoice. So I think I might save that one for later. So update payment method button. We need to go to account, do this same sort of thing. And we'll call it update payment method.html. Okay, update payment method.html. And it's going to have the same HTML as like the cancel page. Basically. It's going to be called update payment method. And we'll call the JavaScript update payment method.js. We'll defer it. Update your payment method. All right, so on this page, we need like a holder for a placeholder for card input. Actually, yeah, let's just add it. It should just be a div with the ID of card element. Doesn't really matter what you name it, but that's where we're going to mount the card element. Like this is where the like Stripe element is mounted here. Okay. And let's call this update button. All right. So when we get to the update payment method page, oh, what's going on here? Cancel button's already been declared. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this should be. And this needs to be update payment. Boom. Okay. Update your payment method. Cool. And on the update payment method page, we have this card element. We have our JavaScript that we need to add. Update payment method.js, which is going to, we need to like step one, fetch public key. Step two, register elements. Step three, we need to create payment method and update customer. Customers, yeah, customer, yeah. Okay. So fetch the public key. Fetch to /config, then function resp. This is going to return resp.json. And then function resp. And we're going to initialize an instance of Stripe. But Stripe is Stripe with resp.publishable key. Okay, we also want to register the elements here. Okay, but this is going to be card element. We're going to store those at the global level. Okay. So that should register the card element. And then step three is create the payment method. And I guess step three is create the payment method. Step four, is update the payment or update the customer. All right, so with step 3, we're going to want to grab reference to the update button. And on click of the update button, we want to call stripe.createPaymentMethod. And we're going to pass in stuff. Response. Okay. What is create payment method? Stripe. Oh, actually here. Create payment method. Okay, so it takes in this object that has the type, the element, and the billing details. So we are going to say payment method. The type is card, and the card is card element, which we mounted above. And we're going to skip over billing details for now. We probably could collect. Yeah, let's do it. Let's collect a name also. Name. Actually, we don't need the for. So like when you're using this label style, where you're wrapping the input with the label, then you don't need the for or ID situation, because you can the label text will be clickable, and when you click on it, it will add focus to the input element, which is inside of that label tag, which is kind of nice. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so we've got a name here. We've got a card holder. And let's see. Okay, so we've entered that stuff. Oh, right. We wanted to go add the name into here. So billing details. Name is name input value. Name input is name. Yep. And then I forget what we get back. What did we get back here? Get back a payment method. Yeah, result.payment method has the payment method. So here we're going to have risp.paymentMethod.id, and that's what we want to send to update the customer. Update, or I guess we already looked at the server, right? And we just made this call to update the customer and set their default payment method. So we're going to do that again here. Function, or no, fetch key, set default payment method, and it needs a customer ID. And it needs the new payment method ID. Payment method ID, I think. Yep. Which is now going to be resp.paymentMethod.id. Right? Okay. All right. I'm going a little quickly because we're running up on time, but I'm hopeful you're able to follow a little bit. Okay, these need to be non-ACE arrow functions. Function. Function and function. And let's see, what do we want to do after we've updated the payment method? I guess we want to like redirect back, right? So similar to cancel, we're going to just use this same sort of like redirect back to the account page. That seems reasonable. Actually, I don't like all this client-side redirection, but it is what it is. Okay. Actually, let's oh wow. Okay. I need to think for a second, because in order to comply with secure customer authentication, when you're updating your payment method right here, you can't actually just create the payment method. You need to use a setup intent in order to get permission to charge the card later. So just creating the payment method is not enough. We need to also handle secure customer authentication. So let's do that. So before we call set default payment method, and instead of calling create payment method like so, we actually need to create a setup intent on the server and use that and confirm that setup intent so that we can be confident that we are compliant with secure customer authentication. So on the server, I think this might be a flaw in the existing sample too. We need to create a setup intent. Yeah, there's no setup intents created here. So where do we want to do this? All right, so I want to keep it kind of like in order of the things that we've done. So set default payment method. So set default payment method and the setup intent kind of work together. So let's just use that. Create setup intent do. And here we're going to say, we don't actually need any input from the customer in order to create the setup intent. And I think we can just use, we can just call create setup intent, right? Like we don't need to pass in very much. Confirm the customer, the description. I guess we could pass in the, yeah, okay. So we want usage off session because right now we're not going to charge the card. We're going to charge the card later. It's not single use. Nope. It doesn't have a return URL because we're not going to try to confirm it immediately. It does not have payment method options, right? Yep, we're not doing anything Modo. We are not using Connect. We are not confirming right now. So we need to set usage off session. Usage off session. And we need to define the payment method types we want to allow. Payment method types. Actually, I don't know if this is required. I think it probably just actually does it default. Okay, defaults to card. I'm just going to take that off. But this defaults to off session. Okay, so I actually don't need that either. Payment method we don't have yet. The metadata we don't care about. Description we don't care about. Customer, we could technically pass in the ID of the customer. If present, the setup intents payment method will be attached to the customer on successful setup. Payment methods attached to the customers cannot be used with set. Okay, let's do that. Let's pass in the customer. Because that will skip a step for us. Like, then we won't have to both attach to the customer and set it as a default. Like by passing the customer here, when we confirm the setup intent, the payment method we create will be attached to the customer by default. And then all we'll have to do is update invoice settings. Otherwise, we would have to first attach to the customer and then also update the payment settings. So customer ID. And then we're going to return with setup intent dot. Actually, let's just pass back the client secret. Setup intent dot client secret. Update payment method JS. All right, so when we land on this page, so step 3. So step 1 is fetch the public key. Step 2 is register elements. Step 3 is actually create setup intent or fetch a new setup intent. What do we call it? Create setup intent. And this is going to take in the customer ID. And we're getting that from params. And when it comes back, gosh, I need to change this. Okay. When the setup intent comes back, we need to store its client secret. We're going to use that in the confirm step below. So here, this is going to be data like client secret is equal to data.client secret. That's what we're going to use to confirm the setup intent in the fourth step. So step 3 is fetch the setup intent. Step 4 is like collect payment details and confirm setup intent. Okay, so then instead of calling create payment method here, we want to call confirm card setup. And the first argument is the client secret. And the second argument is, I think, similar to this, if not exactly the same. So let's look in our Stripe.js docs. Confirm card setup. So confirm card setup takes in the client secret, then the payment method with the card, and the billing details with the card and the billing details. Okay. All right. So then let's see. So step 1, fetch public key. Step 2, register element. Step 3, fetch the setup intent. And that sets the client secret. That happens on page load. Later, once the form is submitted, we're going to call, go into this button click handler. We're going to confirm the card setup with this stuff, payment method, card, billing details. Okay. And then the result from that is going to be a setup intent, which will have a payment method somewhere buried within it. I think it might be setup intent.payment method like this. We will have to see. And then that is going to be sent to set the default payment method on the customer, and we should be good to rock and roll. So let's give it a whirl, refresh the page, test. I'm going to test with the SCA card number on purpose here. You know what? I think I need to restart the server because we need to have that create setup intent thing happen. Refresh the page, test. SCA test card number. We click submit, and we should break into this spot. We do. And then we pull out the name input. Does that have the right value? It does. That's test. Okay. And then we have reference to the card element, right? Okay, cool. And then we should break into here, play, and good. We get our modal to confirm SCA. We click complete, and then we break into here, and now we see resp.setupIntent.payment method. Cool. So that's what I expected. And we also have the custom ID, right? Okay, cool. So that's from the query string params. We're going to send this post request to the backend to update the customer's payment method. And it worked, I think. But we're working with a canceled subscription. So not sure. Stripe logs tail. We see the most recent one. Oh, all right. Let's keep that up while we go through here. So sample.com. I think we'll just run through this one more time and then we'll call it good. Okay. We select premium. Let's just make sure that 15 thing shows up. 42 card. We'll start with the 4242 card and then update to the SCA card later. Subscribe. We get into here. We don't need that breakpoint. Let's see. All right, 14 USD a month. Good. Now we want to say update payment method. Test. SCA test card. Update. And let's add space here. Play. Post the setup intents to confirm. That's happening client side. Complete authentication. This is going to happen server side. Okay, we updated customer and then we retrieved the subscription. Okay, so let's retrieve the customer and see if their default payment method on their invoice settings is the SCA card, which ends in 55. So Stripe customers retrieve this customer, expand the, we want to expand the invoice settings default payment method so we can see the details about it. Okay. All right. So we've got our invoice settings. We've got our default payment method here. And what does it look like? Got some billing details. It's Visa 3155. Great. So it's not the 4242 card. We updated it and we used setup intents. So now the next time the billing cycle runs, this card should succeed. Even if, well, okay, so it should succeed. We have the mandate. We have like the approval from the customer. We have the authentication from the customer in order to charge their card off session, this new card off session later. So that's pretty sweet. Okay, let's call that good for update payment method. Update payment method. And that's where I'm going to wrap it up, folks. So thanks so much for watching. I hope that was useful. Yeah, if you have any questions or you want to just let me know what you're building or whatever, you can hit me up on Twitter at cjavdev, just like the handle there. Or if you just want to like leave a comment on this movie, on this episode, that'd be great. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. I will see you next time.